Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of SHEMAKERS Live. I am Shavonna Williams, your hostess and the founder and CEO of Heels and Helmets. I can't believe we're already at episode 13. And boy, are we going to have a good conversation tonight. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, let me share a little bit about SHEMAKERS and what we hope to accomplish. On SHEMAKERS Live, we have conversations to help women develop their playbooks to win in business and life. For more than 2 decades, I have worked in marketing and communications, in politics, Fortune 500 corporations, as well as 5 major sports leagues. Now, you know, with that background, I've been in several boardrooms where I was the only woman. I'm working to change that. My goal is to get more women in the boardroom with equal pay. Throughout my career, I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of incredible women who are not only killing the game, but share my passion to help you succeed. So on Wednesday evenings, we have conversations to help you navigate business, learn strategies to manage family and career, and give you the encouragement you need to take your game to the next level and win. What is a SHEMAKER? A SHEMAKER is anyone who is skilled and successful and helps women succeed. You are a SHEMAKER, and I am here to help you make big plays, get in the end zone, and win. Please comment below and let me know where you're watching from, how I can help you grow in your career, and drop your questions for tonight's guest. Our SHEMAKER coach is Jahaan Blake. Jahaan Blake is a sports executive turned career coach who helps high-achieving women in the sports and entertainment industry who feel stuck, frustrated, and defeated find their voice and tackle whatever is keeping them from getting exactly what they want out of their career. During Jahaan's 18 years of working in sports, including working for 3 major league teams, the Red Sox, Dodgers, and Cubs, her favorite part of the job was helping others see their full potential. So she made a business out of it. Whether her clients want to break into sports, take their performance to the next level, or own a place at the executive table, Jahaan provides customized coaching programs to accelerate their career. Jahaan is also the host of the Game of Her Own podcast, which highlights the inspiring journey of influential women working in the sports and entertainment industry. These candid interviews offer unique advice and strategies to help empower women in sports and entertainment. Ladies, hearing that, you know that when I met Jahaan, I was like, she is my work twin sister. So passionate about sports and definitely committed to helping ladies take their game to the next level. So I'm really excited to have her on the show this evening. Again, drop your questions. We're going to be talking about personal branding, using your voice, negotiating, asking for that promotion, all to help you get to the executive table. Now, I'm sure you know other women who could benefit from tonight's conversation. So please share and have them join us live as well. Now, SHEMAKERS, welcome tonight's SHEMAKER coach, Jahaan Blake.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. Thank you for joining us on SHEMAKERS Live.
Of course. I feel like you were just like Oprah giving this introduction. I'm so excited to be here. I feel like I'm in a studio.
A little Beyonce to set the mood.
Yes, it worked.
Well, we have so much to talk about, and I know the time is going to go by really fast. I'm like, forget 9 innings. I could already use some extra innings with Jahaan. So we'll have to jump right into it.
All right, I'm ready.
Well, first, take us back, Jahaan. You were a soccer girl growing up and even played at the collegiate level. How did you go from the young girl playing soccer to working in the major leagues?
You know, so I love soccer, played since I was 3 years old. At one point I had this realization, and I don't really know what took me so long, but like I realized, okay, I'm not going to be Mia Hamm. Like no one's going to pay me to play soccer. Like it worked at the collegiate level, you figure out the scholarship thing that worked, but that was it. And so I realized after that, I was like, I have to work in sports. This is all I know, but it's in my DNA. Like I don't see another path forward. Like that was it for me.
And when did you make that discovery?
I guess it was, it was before college that I realized I wasn't gonna get paid, but it was in college when I realized, okay, this isn't it. I was editor in chief of my college newspaper, which I still don't know how that happened because I don't love writing. But like I was, working on other things other than, playing soccer. And so I coached at Emerson, went there to get my master's. I coached at Emerson College, and then I moved into Boston, and I just felt like when I moved there, I was like, this is where I belong, and I'm going to work for a sports team. Don't know which one it's going to be yet, but one of these teams, I'm going to get a job, whether it's the Patriots or the Red Sox. I knew that it was the place for me.
So it wasn't so much that you were focused on the Red Sox or Major League Baseball, but you had the bug for sports.
Yes, I had the bug for sports, and I had a particular crush, if you will, on the Red Sox. So my very first game that I went to was about to date myself. Maybe we won't say the year. So it was in my senior year in college, and some friends were going up, and it was a bunch of, I went to college in a small town, Springfield, Massachusetts. And for some reason, I had a lot of friends that were also from New Jersey. So they're Yankee fans. And I was not a baseball fan growing up. And so they were like, we're going to a Red Sox Yankees game at Fenway Park. Do you want to come? And like, I just don't want to, I have FOMO all the time. So I was like, I don't like baseball, but I don't want to be left out. So yeah, I'm coming with you guys. So we hop in, the truck, and we all head up to Boston. And I remember just walking over the bridge and like seeing Fenway Park from the outside. I remember the smells. I remember the cast of characters. We bought our tickets from like a scalper, and I was like, oh my God, what are we doing? Like, it was just like this whole experience. And I remember like it was yesterday. And I remember walking into the ballpark and walking up those stairs in the bleachers and just looking around and seeing the field. And that was it. I was hooked. Like the experience is what I fell in love with. I loved talking to the vendors. I ate a lot of hot dogs that day. I loved like getting teased by the vendors because I was from New Jersey, or still from New Jersey. And I had to show my ID to get carded, which that doesn't happen anymore, but that's okay. And so it was just a whole experience that I never forgot. And from then I was a Red Sox fan. Don't even know the score of the game that day, but I became a Red Sox fan, and that's kind of when I fell in love with the work that I ended up doing for the next, now call it 19 years.
I was going to say that you became a fan before you even got inside of the park and saw the first pitch.
Yes, exactly. The experience started way before the first pitch.
Is that when the light bulb went off, like, you know what, I'm going to create these type of experiences for people?
No, I wish it did. It sure didn't, because at the time, right? So I'm still in college, and you hear about, no one's talking about fan experience. There's no sports marketing department. There's sports marketing. There's no sports marketing degrees, right? Like there's none of that, doesn't exist quite yet, at least where I went to school. And so I still didn't know. So I thought maybe PR, that's what I have to do. Maybe marketing, whatever that means. So I was like testing different things out. Like my dad, when I'd come home, would be like, so what are you going to do? And I would like try something new. And he's like, what's that? I don't really know, but I'll figure it out. So it wasn't until I saw an ad on TV when I was in Boston, and this man who became a boss and a mentor was talking about the fan experience and how they were hiring Fenway ambassadors, and said, don't quit your day job. It was a part-time job. It made like $6 an hour or $5.50 an hour. We all debate it still. But he was talking about somebody coming in and helping fans enjoy the experience. So like I understood exactly what he was saying because I had just went through that. So to think that not everyone has that same experience like made no sense to me. I was like, so you want me to be in charge of that? Done. Easy. I'll take the job. And I applied, and 4,000 other people applied for the same job. They hired 25 of us after 3 months, a 3-month interview process.
Literally like the employment draft.
It really was. Like we had to wait in line to go inside for the first round of the interviews, 1,000 of us a night. Like it was intense for a part-time job that could barely pay gas money to drive back and forth to like New Jersey and Boston to see my family.
In Boston, not an inexpensive city in the Midwest.
You know what? It was, I mean, no. And I knew that. And living in Boston, I had 5 roommates at the time, one of those situations. And oh, that was not for me, the roommate part. Like that was hard, but I really liked what I did. And I was having I tell people I had the time of my life working for the Red Sox. It didn't come without challenges, but overall it was I loved it so much that I didn't mind that I wasn't making a ton of money.
How did you get through such a grueling competitive interviewing process?
You tell I like to make faces. People don't see this because I'm always on a podcast. It was really challenging. I am an introvert. Believe it or not, people argue with me and tell me I'm not an introvert, and they tell me I'm not shy, but I can be, and I have to work at it really hard. So I remember going in, and it's one of those things, you're faced with the decision. Like, if this is what you want to do, you have to go for it, right? Like, you just have to put your game face on and just go. And so I remember like just giving myself a little pep talk. I remember parking my car and being like, all right, well, you got this. And it was one of those things where I just felt and I'd love to ask people who hired me if they felt this, but I just felt like this is my job. I didn't see it any other way. I was nervous, but I was like, I'm going to get this job. So I went in, and there's 1,000 of us applicants, and we had to walk around. We had numbers. Right. And I've actually used this hiring method because I love it. But we were numbers, and we had to walk around and talk to people who had name tags on and had their actual name on it. And we had to get them to write down our numbers. And I got there, and it's like I blacked out and was just like into work mode. And I just walked around and talked to people, and it worked, and I got to the next round.
Awesome. What an incredible story.
Yeah, it was fun.
Entering sports can definitely be competitive, but I have not had an experience like that. Wow, Jahaan.
For a part-time job, it's crazy. And what's funny is when I got to the Cubs, I think I did it at the Dodgers too, but 100% did this at the Cubs. I was like, we have to do the same thing, because it worked so well. It's so telling how people act in that sort of setting. And you have to learn how to talk and use your voice, but you have to also have your manners and ease in your way into a conversation. And it tells such a good story of who you are and how you'll handle a crowd of 40,000 people and how you'll act when that's happening. Because that's high pressure when you have a screaming fan or you're trying to make someone's moment. And there's also a baseball game going on, and everything's intense, and there's all these things to think about. Sensory overload, I like to say.
What did you learn about yourself through that process?
This is so fun talking to you and being on the other side. Good questions. So, I think the biggest thing I learned was I can do it. Like, you are your thoughts. Do you know what I mean? Like, so the whole entire process, I was nervous. I was sweating. Probably had to throw away a couple of articles of clothing through it. But at the end of the day, I was like, okay, my parents weren't just telling me, like, I actually I'm good. I'm good. I can do whatever I want to do, And so I gained a little bit of confidence every single step of the way. Step of that interview process, through my career. Like, you just start to gain more confidence the more you push yourself. I like to tell my clients all the time, it gets easier. I hated public speaking, and now you can't shut me up. Like, I literally bought a microphone. Like, I can't stop talking, but I hated public speaking and froze in a public speaking class while I was getting my master's.
Who would have guessed that?
I know. Standing up at the podium in front of a whole class, just it was a safest place to be, right? There's no real audience. It's your peers. And that proved that to me was the hardest thing to do.
And how did you overcome that fear?
You have to here's the deal. The regret is worse than that whatever fear I have. So if I would say, I'm going to pass on this opportunity, I would regret it. And I would spend more time thinking about it than if I had just finally did it and gone through it, shaky voice and all, and pushed through. That feeling after, it's like endorphins. Like it fuels you, and then you want to do it again. And then you do it again, and then you get nervous again. You're like, why did I sign up for this? This was stupid. I can't do it. Oh my God, I did it. Like, I did it again. I'm actually okay. The first time wasn't a fluke. And then you just keep going. And what you'll realize over time is that the recovery time, I like to call it a vulnerability hangover for those of us who get nervous and who are introverts. The vulnerability hangover afterwards gets shorter, and you just start to feel stronger and stronger. And then one day you look back and you're like, I can't believe that I couldn't speak in front of a class. I can't believe that I'm sweating so much at a interview that I had to throw away a shirt. So it makes you stronger for sure through the process.
Well, it's like the cliche, practice makes perfect. So the more we practice, the more we put ourselves out there, the more confident we become.
Yeah, yes. And you recover quicker if you make a mistake. Like, you learn that it's not the end of the world. Like, I know today I might say something that I'm like, why did I say that? But it's okay. Like, we're not meant to be these perfect beings. Like, you're like beautifully imperfect. It's okay.
Like introducing you, I wanted to say Chicago Cubs, but the first time I said Chicago Clubs.
And I didn't even think anything of it.
The show keeps going.
Yes. And I guarantee you no one thought about that.
Well, once you landed that opportunity, how did you move into a full-time role? Also working in sports, we know that the internship process, as well as part-time or seasonal roles, as some teams call them, are very limited, and not a lot of people move into a full-time role. What do you think made you successful in making that transition?
It was using my voice. I knew that I wanted to be, so now I finally figured it out. Oh, I want to be in fan experience. Like, I did not know that department existed until I was hired into it, but I was part-time. So it was all about timing. It really is, right? So I lucked out. I wasn't ready to be full-time, so I was going to Emerson to get my master's full-time. So I couldn't have done both. And so I was in my last year, so that it worked out really well that when I was done, and before that, I started planting the seeds in my boss, like, I want to be full-time. I want to be full-time. And I had to, get up the courage to ask her. And there was she was the only full-time person from in our department. So I was like, I don't see a path forward, but she would say things and other people would say things. Oh, if you're interested in this department, that department. And I really wasn't. Like, I didn't want to work in, I don't even think we had marketing, but I didn't want to work in PR then. I didn't want to work in, sales. Like, it wasn't for me. I just knew that I had found my people and my place, and this is the department I wanted to grow into. So I had to keep asking. And she finally created a position for me and actually one other coworker. We were hired full-time at the same time at the coordinator level.
Okay, you got to back up a little bit, Jahaan. You worked up the courage to tell your supervisor that you wanted a promotion, and then she created a position for you.
Yeah, I mean, that is it. Well, tell me what the follow-up question is so I can make sure I answer it, but correctly.
In working up the courage, what did you position to your supervisor? Did you already have a role in mind? Did you look at other Major League Baseball teams to see what opportunities they had that maybe the Red Sox did not have?
Great. So, great question. And that's advice I give a lot of my clients. Like, what else do you want to be? Where do you, like, what are other teams doing? But at the time, fan experience wasn't a thing yet. Like, I got my job with the Red Sox in 2003. And so that, like, people weren't talking about fan experience. There's also no Instagram. There was no, like, things were harder to share, right? But like, I was always studying Sports Business Journal and like who got hired, who was doing what. And I think Sports Business Journal was like what the clips, whatever I could read. But no one's talking about fan experience. And so I don't, when I pitched it, I had a good relationship with my boss. She was invested in the growth of her department and doing big things. And therefore she was invested in her team as well. And she's very good about learning about what you wanted and where you want to be. She still is a tough cookie, but like, I like to say it was like boot camp. Like, I learned so much from her, but she was tough, but she's so good. I still love her to this day. But I honestly, I just had to have conversations, and what made it helpful, what made it easier was I was doing full-time work. So I was working 40 hours a week, just making like $7 an hour. And so I was available for whatever she wanted. So if she had extra work, like I was there. And I could tell what I started to see the trend, and you just have to pay attention to your surroundings and what's going on, and making sure you understand how your manager operates or your organization, right? You might be outside your department, but it was like she was hunting and gathering is what I used to say. Like, I'd come home and tell my boyfriend, I was like, gosh, Sarah is like, she's got this new project and she's got this new project. And so I would notice those things, and she's only one person. She has to have support to help her continue to grow. And so I would just position myself as the support staff. I wasn't going after her job. I wanted to help her grow, because by her growing, that means I'm going to grow too. So you built this department, you hired all of us, you have all these things in place. Yes, things need evolving and improving. How can I do that while you go off and get this and that? And you're in the senior staff meetings and you're trying to lead at a different level. I want to lead right here in this department. That's all I want. And we actually talked about working in other departments. I was like, this is it. This is where I want to be. I want to help you.
No, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah.
So you basically pitched her on you helping her.
Yes. And it's not even that I pitched her. I mean, I had to have the conversation. I had to get up the courage to say what I wanted, but I also, my actions were speaking a lot louder. My hours were speaking a lot louder. Like, I was in a position at the time to be there a lot. And I was having so much fun. I didn't mind. Like, I came back from vacation once. At this point, I mean, I don't even know if I'm full-time yet. I came back from vacation and I had my husband, we like drove down to Nantucket for a week and came back, and I made the Red Sox were home, and I made him drop me off at the ballpark. Like, now I'm like, okay, after vacation, I still need like another day to like decompress. But I was like, no, drop me off at the ballpark. I want to go see my friends. Like, that's how much I liked being at work. And that's really important too.
And that's where the personal branding started and really got its strength, was from the work that you did, not what you said you were going to do or what you would like to do, but building that reputation.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It was the action. And then sometimes if I felt like, just let me remind you, I'm here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what else do you need? What else do you need? And so the second she would have something new, I was like, how can I help? And sometimes she would have to tell me, not yet. I don't need any help yet. I'm still trying to figure it out. And so it was really, I was lucky enough to have a really good two-way communication with my boss.
That is really important. And a lot of people are not in situations where they have a boss like that. How do you coach your clients on developing a mentoring relationship to get that type of coaching?
It's really important that you, one thing that I talk about is you have to meet with your manager one-on-one. And you can't go in with, I had somebody who worked for me, and I called her into my office and she would come in like this, you know what I mean? Like, ready to go. And so you have to make sure that when you are meeting one-on-one, you go in and like, you set the agenda. I don't care what level You can set the agenda. Now, the one thing I would do, and I recommend this to everybody, is to, at the end or at the beginning, just here's my starting point. Please feel free to add, change, and delete. So now you're not telling your manager what to do, but there's going to be a relief from your manager, like, oh, okay, like she's got this. Like she's gonna really lead this meeting. I'm here for support, because a lot of times managers are like, I don't know what you want to talk about. Go do what I asked you to do. So you can set the meeting up with, you can quickly talk, and some of them could be 15 minutes. That's where, when I got down to my sweet spot with my team, after I got to know them and learn about how they work and then figure out how we can work together, we can have meetings easily in 15 minutes. So you go in and you just talk about your wins, just some high level, quick wins, things that happen that your boss might not remember, might not know that happened. And you want to talk about what's on deck, what you're working on. And then just so there's alignment there, right? Oh, you're working on these things. Actually, can you switch that and work on this, because this is more important? Because your manager is going to have a perspective from a different level, and they're going to have a broader range, like of, oh, this is what the organization needs right now, so I need you to focus on this. Those are things you're just not going to know unless you talk to your manager. And then the third thing, and this took me a while to learn, is where you're stuck and where you need support. And I used to view that when I was junior in my career as a weakness. If I tell you I'm stuck, you're not gonna have faith in me. So what you want to do is talk about where you're stuck, talk about solutions that you've tried, and then ask, what would you recommend? So don't just say, I'm stuck with this one problem and so isn't working with me. Like, he's being really difficult. I'm just going to say he for fun. He's being really difficult. And then that's it. So now it looks like you're venting, right? Now it looks like you're kind of just talking about something. You could say, he's being really difficult. I have tried boom, boom, boom. And those don't seem to be working. From your experience, what would you recommend I do next? So now you've gone in with solutions that you've tried, and it paints a picture of your work ethic. And then you get some advice from somebody who has typically more experience than you, or a different perspective.
Yeah. As opposed to coming across as whining, especially when you're communicating with the senior leader. They are already planning strategy. You've been promoted to tackle the issues that they are not focused on and in the weeds on. So having at least a conversation to demonstrate that you are working on it and not just waiting for the answers to come to you, I think is very productive.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it makes the meeting go by really fast as well. There's no need to run down all of the things that you're working on. No, like in all of the things that you did. It's not a productive meeting. It could have been an email. A conversation is completely different, and it makes the most of your time and your manager's time.
Right. And already have some long days in sports.
Don't we? Well, I guess I don't work for a team anymore, so mine are different. But yes, forget it. A long homestand, especially if you're in baseball, long homestand, a few rain delays or a doubleheader. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I cannot imagine. I have told people, like, I cannot do baseball now. I should have done baseball in my 20s, but there's no way that I could do baseball now. Even taking on the MLS earlier this year, I'm like, woo, 17 home games.
Yes. What's really funny is I had this dream of, like, when I was in my 20s, I said, okay, baseball, I can do this now, and I keep this schedule now. But as I grow and have a family and get married and have kids, things have changed so much since then. But as I do these things, I'm going to want to probably work in football so I can handle the amount of home. So that was my 20-year-old vision of what my career was going to look like.
And how has that vision changed?
I've always wanted to start my own business. And even when I was with the Red Sox, I remember wanting to, and the business has always evolved, but I've always wanted to be my own boss. And it was like a whisper when I was in my 20s, and then it just got louder and louder. Part of it was my dad. He was making it louder as well. But it's like
Is he
he
an
knew.
entrepreneur, Jahaan?
Yeah. So yeah, he started, he's retired now, but he started his own company, an electric company, Manalapan Electric, in New Jersey. So he had started his own company, which when you're younger, you don't, like, you think, oh, you started your own business. Like, cool. Like, now when you look back, I'm like, okay, you started your own business. You moved from a predominantly Black community. It was Black, right? Community to 99% white community. And that's where we moved to. And then there you started your own business. Like, that's, I mean, that's mind blowing. And you're going into people's houses, and you're an electrician. And so, like, my dad built an incredible business. I don't know how he did that, but he did. So that's where I think I get my grit from. On the days that I do have it, it is not consistent. On the days I have it, that's where it comes from. But so that whisper got louder and louder. And then finally, when I met my husband here in Chicago, he was friends with one of my employees' husbands. So like eventually, like I didn't meet him until I think she actually had left at this point by the time I met him, or was on her way out. But yeah, so we were in the wedding together. And after that, I was like, you know what? I love Chicago. I'm tired of moving from team to team. I thought I would do it forever. I think I'm just going to start my own business and do the consulting work that I love to do. But the one trend that I noticed in sports was when you hire a consultant, you pay them a lot of money, and they're in and out, and their project is a priority. And so I thought, I can do that. And so I just took that leap of faith and started my own business.
Nice. What were some of the things that you saw at the Red Sox, the Dodgers, and the Cubs that made you think, I need to coach women through this?
My office, and when I was at the Red Sox, it was a cubicle, was just, people would come to me, and I love talking to people, and I don't like to talk about myself. I love to get them to tell me, like, I'll ask a ton of questions. And the second someone talks about where they're stuck, where they're frustrated, where they're feeling defeated, and I see something completely different, I'm in. Like, so I'm always motivating people and trying to get them to see what the rest of the world sees. And so when I left, and the same thing, the Dodgers and the Cubs, and what I noticed was people who worked for me and then would move on and be full time, or move to a different department, would still come back and ask for advice. And so I could be like in the middle of a deadline and, middle of a long homestand, and I'm like, come into my office, close the door, and let's talk it out. And this is all different levels. This is people who didn't work for me. And at that point, I loved it, but it was just natural to me. And so when I left, that was the one thing I missed. I missed the people. I did not miss the long days. So I was ready to say goodbye to that. I was okay with that, but I just missed the people. And then I missed really being able to support people in their growth. And that was it. And it took me a while to get there too, on my business side too. I did consulting and didn't even think about coaching. And it wasn't until I realized I missed it. I missed helping people, that I said, oh, this is it. Like, I can create whatever I want. So I will also do coaching for women who work in sports, and I'll take on like a certain amount of clients and help them.
Awesome. Well, you did leave Major League Baseball to go to Deloitte. Was it the hours that at that point made you decide, I'm going to go corporate now?
No, I use this line often, but I have to give credit where credit's due. Chanel Reynolds make sure I got her name right, said this to me once. I was talking to her on my podcast, and I was interviewing her, and she says, we're talking about Deloitte. I was like, yes, I went to Deloitte because somebody gave me advice and said to me before I started my consulting company, they said, you should get consulting experience before you start your own consulting firm. And I said, yes, you're right. However, it wasn't, that person was validating fears that I had. And so at that point, I was like, oh, this isn't for me. I don't need, nothing I gained from Deloitte did I use in my consulting business. Just not one thing. And it was one of those places where I got there, I was going to help them grow their sports practice. But then I learned of other rules. You have to be staffed 80% of the time. And I just was like a fish out of water. I did not fit in. Everybody just was very corporate. Mm-hmm. They were impressive people. So that was the one thing. It was just nice to see just all these young people in here, and the hours they were putting in, they were killing it. It wasn't for me. So the hours didn't scare me. It was just, I didn't want it. It wasn't the work for me. I wasn't inspired by it at all. So it was a very quick, easy decision. I did not take long for me to think it's time to go. And so I said to myself, once I have a client, I will leave, because I have to be financially responsible, which is sometimes hard as an adult, and adulting is hard. So I made that decision, and I put it out into the universe. And then I found my first opportunity, honestly, as a text message, because I was bored while I was getting my hair done. It takes forever. Your hair done. And so, so I was in the chair, and I was like, I want to see what Meg's up to. And I texted somebody, and I said, do you want to hire a contractor to work on Super Bowl, for a big contract, for a longer contract? And she kept calling me. And I was like, I was kind of kidding, because I had worked for her for 5 days at Super Bowl once. Mm-hmm. And so she kept calling me, and then she's like, we just want a piece of business, and the NFL knows you. My boss loves you. You would be the perfect person to run this for us. And so I was like, are you joking? And so I like to say we grew up professionally together. We both were hired as ambassadors. And she said, are you joking? I was like, no, I'm serious. She goes, I am getting on a plane. That's why I keep calling you. I have my boss's ear for the next, a couple hours. So if you're serious, I will say something. And so I said, I'm serious. She goes, okay, I'll call you when I get off the plane. And that was it. There was no looking back at that point, because I am loyal to a fault. So I told her yes. And that was it. I was like, I'm under the hairdryer, and I'm surrounded by a bunch of old ladies. I'm like, nobody's going to know what I'm talking about. Who do I tell? I want to tell somebody, I'm doing it. I'm starting my own business. And that was my first client.
Nice. Well, starting off with the Super Bowl is a pretty big deal. There are people who work decades to land an opportunity like that.
Yes. And it was a great opportunity. It was a great challenge too. It was just, I loved every minute of that, and in Pro Bowl as well. It was fun.
Very fun. Well, even though you learned that Deloitte was not the place for you, looking back, what are you grateful for about that experience?
That's a tough one. You people don't stump me. I honestly, I think it was, if you look at it the way things happened, I don't know that I would have texted Meg, right? To tell her what sort of, client work I was looking for. I don't know. It's just the chain of events that happened after that. I think it was just perfect timing. I think really that really is it. It was just, and it was maybe the push I needed, because I knew I wanted to stay in Chicago. I knew it was time, and it was almost and I had that regret of not going and starting my own business. So it was the push I needed. And I honestly have not looked back, and it told me that it confirmed something that I've always thought, is that I don't know that I'm made. No, let me just own this. I am not made to work for somebody. Like it's just, it was something I always felt and I couldn't feel it, what was off. I love learning from people. I'm super coachable. Like I love learning from people, but I don't necessarily love having a boss.
Well, I can see that, especially because you said the only reason why you looked for that opportunity was to get experience as someone advised you to before starting your consulting business.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So easy to move away from that.
Yeah, it was definitely, that was not a difficult one.
Well, you've talked about loving building, and I think that's very entrepreneurial, and not enjoying so much the maintaining. When did you discover that about yourself?
Oh, very, very early on. So building programs is so fun, and like solving that problem and like help putting in, implementing new programs, policies, procedures, whatever it may be. I love that. And then it's because it's new and it's like you're impacting change. And I loved being a part of that. And so when you're never done. You're always evolving things, but that's not the same. And so that's why when I was at the Red Sox, I thought, okay, I feel like I'm ready to move on to the next challenge. And that's just been a theme throughout my career. With the great thing about being an entrepreneur is that we wear all the hats, right? So you're constantly wearing all the hats and doing all the things and always building. And so that makes it so much. That's what gets me up. I like up every single morning, 6 a.m. And like, I have to run down the hall, but like I'm running to my desk. Like I can't wait to get started, start working on building and continuing to build this business.
Did the opportunity to build something new attract you to your roles at the Dodgers and then the Cubs after getting a start in sports at the Red Sox?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the same sort of work. So different market, different fan base, although the same kind of, because they're still like, passionate fans. But it was that opportunity to help them build their fan experience. That was, I think, the most important part of it. It was super easy with so with the Dodgers, I followed the man I saw on TV talking about the ambassador position. I followed him out. He went to the Dodgers. And so he was there for about a year. Meg from the Super Bowl, she was there. So like I followed, there was actually a huge group of us out there. And so they needed some work on operations side and the fan experience and frontline staff. How do you turn your frontline staff? How do you make sure they're aligned with whatever brand promise you have? So that was like, oh, this is perfect fit. And then same thing with the Cubs. Tom Ricketts, the owner, made it really easy. In an article, he goes, I want to hire a chief hospitality officer. And then during the interview process, they were like, we want to create an ambassador program. Oh, that's perfect, because I was hired as one and I went on to manage and run that very department. So I'm your girl.
You're like, I can do that in my sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
This was basically written for me as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
What are some of the trends you see in fan experience and innovation?
When I look at, so everyone defines fan experience differently. For me and the work that I did, it was all about your frontline staff. And that's massive, right? So there's your ushers and your ticket takers. Those are given. But like your food and beverage have just as much of an impact as your usher, as a person in the parking lot, your maintenance, people who are walking around sweeping, like every single group, right? And typically it was, with the Dodgers, it was 9 distinct different groups, but it could be anywhere from 10, 11, 12 groups. And the most important thing that is fundamental is listening it's really, we're talking about the fan experience, but in order to enhance the fan experience, you got to focus on the employee experience and how you treat them and how you listen to them, how you walk in their shoes and understand what they're going through before you're asking them to go deliver something that the marketing department came up with. So the marketing department will come up with these really smart, brilliant campaigns, but as an operational leader, how do you get your team to do that? How do you get them to put that into action? So really, for what I see, and the teams that do it right, the organizations that do it right, is they listen to their employees, because their employees have they have their finger on the pulse as to what matters most to fans. And when you do that, gosh, you create loyal employees. It's not like sometimes you don't have the nicest locker rooms. You don't have, the best sort of meal plans or anything. But when you listen and just treat your frontline staff as if they were full-time employees in terms of interactions and just having conversations, it takes a lot of time, but the payoff is worth it.
Well, communication and hospitality seems to be at the foundation of who Jahaan Blake is. What is your personal mission?
Oh, my personal mission. And someone asked me today, they said, where do you see your coaching business? What is your long-term goal? And I said, out. I have my consulting business. I love my consulting business, but I love my coaching business, and it lights me up every single day. And so I want to continue to give back to not only the next generation, but the women who are in it now and who are mid-level employees who don't necessarily have access to executive coaches, right? Don't know how to use their voice in a way that impacts change. They're not sure how to influence an organization, but they have great ideas, and they have they're very smart in they can lead a meeting, but they just need a little bit of help. But sometimes your manager doesn't have time to help you. And there's no programs within your organization. So I think my personal mission right now is to help as many women as I can level up, right? Whether that means, and that's different for everybody. It can mean, taking your seat at the table. It can mean just getting that promotion, getting up the courage to ask, trying to learn how to pitch your boss for that promotion, whatever it can be. It's different for everybody, but that's the most important thing to me. And that's what keeps me up at night, is the client work that I'm doing and how I'm going to help them get to that next level.
In your work, what challenges do you think are unique to women in this space?
I hate to generalize, but I have no choice, right? Because I hear and see these different trends. One thing I think is unique is a lot of women they feel like they're bragging about themselves when they advocate for themselves. And so therefore they don't do it, and they let someone else do it. And so you can't, you have to be the one who tells your story, who tells your organization, the outside, the industry, who you are and what you're about, therefore your brand. You have to do that. I think that's a major one. I think it's something I see a lot is feeling like you're ungrateful for wanting to move to a different level, and you waiting until it comes to you. And so, I had a call with somebody, and they were telling me their role and how long they've been doing it and the impact they were having. And I don't think she realized it. And she's telling me all this. And I'm like, and you're a what? What level? What's your title? And she's like, I know, but I'm really grateful for having this role. it's okay. You can have those conversations. One of the, we had a challenging, the world had a challenging year. Sports got hit really hard. And I was so proud of my clients who said to me, I know I deserve a promotion and raise. I don't think I'm gonna, I don't know what to do. Should I wait? Should I do this? And so I like to meet my clients where they are. And, I painted that picture for them of like, what happens if you wait? And we talked through the mindset issues about asking, was it really the pandemic? Like, what are we hiding behind? And my clients, I had 3 clients who wanted a promotion, went to ask for it. We built the whole thing, the pitch and everything, and we worked on it, and all of them got a promotion. I mean, I was like, it's not, and we're talking about people who were told no one's getting promotions this year. There's always exceptions. And because of COVID, there's ways to work around, like maybe the timing of the money, right? Maybe the time, right? At the end of the day, the responsibility, no matter what, was there. And it was theirs. And most of the time, actually all 3 times, they were already doing it. So it was just trying to tell the story to your manager to make sure they understood what you were doing and what you needed to move forward.
Well, congratulations to you and your clients.
My clients, they crushed it. I was not in the room. They did well. They did well with telling that story.
I cannot believe that we are almost at time. So I definitely want to make sure that we get to some questions. Let's see. We'll go to Facebook here for the first one. It reads, what would you recommend to any adult starting their careers in their 20s, changing careers in their 40s, or returning back to the workforce in their 60s?
Woo. All right. Wait, I can't see that. Oh, here we go. Okay. So one thing across the board is, regardless of how old you are, is networking. I have had so many opportunities because of my network. I think about my first client, Meg, yes, she's a friend. She was still is a friend, but like, I always kept in touch with her. Like, she wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, she wasn't one who would call and whatever. And like, so I would nurture anybody in my professional network. I think that's really important. So if you're in your 20s and you don't have a big network yet, looking back, sometimes I wish I was calling more people when I had a little bit more time so I could have learned from more people. So informational interviews are the way to go. Picking people's brains, talking to the people who have jobs that you aspire to have one day, making sure that you're talking and learning from them as well. I think that's really, really important. So that's at any age today. I had a call with somebody I'd never met before. I liked the work that he was doing with his search firm. And I thought, I really want to meet him. I think we could both help each other. So I just sent him a message, and he booked a time with me, and that was it. It was great. So networking does not have to be scary. It can be fun, and it 100% leads to career growth. So I think that would be the most important thing that I think you could take away from no matter what age.
Thank you. Our next question, go to YouTube here. Do you believe the sports industry contributes to women and others having that very grateful to be here mentality?
Yeah. So if you say, does it contribute? Well, yeah, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of unspoken things that happen, and you feel like if I leave tomorrow, there's 50,000 people waiting to get my job, right? I mean, the job market is insane. Like, the competition is insane for women in sports. Forget it. For the sports industry, period. It is just really, really competitive. So it does, I think sometimes you just see it and you think, well, I'm so grateful to have this job. I can't believe all these women are lining up outside. Their 20s, 40s, or 60s, right? Like, they're all knocking on the door and they're trying to get in. And so I am grateful to have this job. But You can be grateful and still do great things and continue to move up and ask for what you want. But if you wait, then it's not going to happen, right? Unless you have that one boss who's just going to pull you along and give you things as you know what I mean? Like as she thinks you're doing well. But that doesn't happen happen very often. I had a great relationship with my first boss, and I had to ask. I had to ask all of the time. And it's scary, but I'm telling you, no one gets fired for asking. And if they do, then you're not in the right spot. Consider it a blessing, but no one has ever said to me, I asked for a promotion and I got fired. That doesn't happen.
Use your voice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Jahaan. This has been so wonderful to chat with you. It's good to see you. I am looking forward to collaborating and doing more with you.
Yes, likewise. This was so fun, and I'm so glad that you asked me. I am honored.
Yes. Well, before I let you go, I just have 3 sentences for you to complete. We do not do rapid fire at SHEMAKERS Live. However, have a little fun here.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So the first one is, I'm so glad that I didn't do this.
I am so glad that I didn't pass up opportunities when I was afraid. I felt the fear and did it anyway.
Nice. You've been to a lot of ballparks. So the best popcorn is at?
I don't know. I don't like popcorn that much. I have a dairy allergy, so it's a whole thing. Can I answer for hot dogs? Fenway Franks all the way.
Fenway Franks.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I feel like now I can say that because no one team signs my paycheck anymore.
Right. That's why I felt like it was safe.
Yes.
Okay. Your last one. Girl, anytime I hear this, I have to dance.
Wow. That is such a tough question because everything makes me want to dance. Like this morning, I was dancing in my car on the way to work out. Man, this is a hard one. The problem is I don't know pop culture anymore, so I don't know any songs that I'm dancing to, like the one today. I wish I could say that.
Give us a lyric.
Anything, you know what? I'm not giving you a lyric. Well, I'm not singing a lyric. I will give you any song right now. Lizzo.
Okay.
I want to come out of my seat. Yep. For sure.
Wow. You're up in pop culture then.
I mean, it took me a minute.
Well, I have to ask you just one more question, and I see that another question has come in, so want to make sure that they get their questions in the audience. So Stacey J is asking, do you feel a postgraduate degree is necessary for success?
Ooh, great question, Stacey. And I just had a conversation about this with one of my podcast guests. I truly feel that. But first, let me be really transparent with you. I got my master's because I did not know what I was going to do in my career. So I thought my parents have always preached about education, education, education. So going to get my master's seemed like the right move at the time for me. So it is a very personal decision. You have to look at like what is it going to do for you? Mm-hmm. How is it going to help your career? For me, I was able to continue learning and also figure out what I wanted to do in this world and what I wanted to do next. And I knew it was coming, but I needed some more time. So you have to figure out, how is it going to help you? Are you doing it just so you can get into sports? Well, every sports organization is different. Every brand is different, and it's not a requirement. It's not a prerequisite to have your master's to be the next, vice president of fan experience. right? Like the vice president of marketing. It doesn't matter. Now, if you're going somewhere, and my old mentor gave me this advice when I thought I was feeling stuck, and I thought, okay, I'm going to go get my master's, my MBA. So I got my master's in integrated marketing communications. And so I was like, I'm going to go get my MBA. And he said, well, unless you're going to Harvard where you can make connections that are going to help you, I don't think you need it. And so I was like, you know what? I think I'm just doing this because I can't figure out a path forward. And so I got more support to help me figure out what my path forward was, instead of just going to get my master's. That wasn't the answer.
Yeah. Great question.
I received answers your question.
I received similar advice, Jahaan. It was, if you're not going to go to one of the top 5 business schools, do not do it. And you also have to look at your background. At the time, I'm leading marketing for an NFL team, and people with MBAs are asking to do informational interviews with me. So I tell people to do the same analysis that you just described, to look at where you are and truly analyze the experience that you have. I think often, especially women, discount the experience that they have, and they think the answer is getting another degree. And more education is not the panacea to grow in your career. So understanding the experience that you have, as well as what you need to get to the next level, and then looking at opportunities to just continue to grow and innovate yourself outside of traditional academic environments.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's well said. You have to just stop and think, like what you just said about people calling you who are in their MBA programs to get informational interviews. Like, that's so telling. Experience speaks so much. Think about it. If you're going to rack up the debt that comes along with getting your master's, whatever path you choose, if you're going rack up that debt, think about just perhaps maybe volunteering for a team, offering your services that way. And so you can rack up debt, or you can go be a bartender and do both things. But now you don't have this massive debt. Like, you're a little bit smaller, and then you have experience. And I think that you'll learn so much more.
And you have to be realistic. Now, if I had studied English in college and then, let's say, worked in the education system and wanted to move into sports marketing, yes, I would go back to school and get the fundamentals to business and marketing. But when you have studied that at the undergraduate level and then complemented that with years of experience, the necessity for you to have that formal education is not there. But as we were both given good advice, if you're going to use it as a means to build your network with other people who will be in influential positions, then you want to think about that, because building your network is also an investment. But how much of an investment? Do you need to spend the $300,000 to go to a great graduate program for an opportunity that you're going to increase your salary of by, 20 grand?
Yes, exactly. Deloitte definitely should go get your master's, right? Like, when you're at that lower level and trying to make that jump, they actually will. Sometimes they pay for it. Mm-hmm. A lot of times they pay for it, especially if you come back. They literally tell you, they paint you a picture. Go get your master's. We're going to pay X amount. And then when you come back, this is how much more you're going to be making. I don't know of sports teams that do that. Right? Like, that's not something they do offer some sort of continuing education and paying for it, but not to the level of go, come back, your job will be here. You know what I mean? Like, and you're going to make more money. That happens at the corporate level. And if it happens at a team that you're working for, well, then there you go.
There you go.
that might be a path for you.
Okay, well, what's one sporting event that you have to work before you retire?
One sporting event that I have to work. I think it's got to be the Olympics. I think it's got to be the Olympics, but in a different, it's not, I don't see it. I don't like, I have this magic ball here, but I don't see it in the fan experience capacity. So I don't know what it looks like yet. That just seems to be the theme of my entire career. Like, don't know what it looks like, but I know it's going to be good. But I can see myself helping on some sort of coaching level, not the athletes. I'm not that good, but helping or not that type of coach, but like helping women who are working on it, because that's intense.
Man, I lost. I was guessing FIFA World Cup.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one too. That's what I want to go to. That's what I'm going to attend.
Nice, nice.
Yes.
Well, to close things out, I would like to know, what is the essential note that our SHEMAKERS need to put in their playbooks to win in business and life?
Oh, I like this question. Here's what, and stop me, I can tell a lot of stories, but here's what's really important is knowing your worth is critical. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to advocate for yourself every single day. Like, that's important. One easy way to just know your worth is to track your wins. Right? So what I advise my clients to do, what I've done in the past, is I jot things down. So I'll have a meeting. I'll prepare for it. I'm ready. I go in, and some things go really well and some things do not. Afterwards, I write down 3 things that went well, 3 things I would do differently next time. And if you keep doing that consistently, it becomes your playbook. You'll start to notice themes. You might notice like mindset issues you're having. You might notice things that you are really good at and you need to do more of, and you can start to highlight that to your boss. So my biggest piece of advice is to be your biggest advocate by just learning who you are and starting to track it and creating your own playbook.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining me this evening, Jahaan. I really enjoyed talking to you and looking forward to doing it again.
Yes, me too. This was so much fun. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too.
And thank you, SHEMAKERS, for joining me once again on SHEMAKERS Live. I hope you all got some great notes for your playbooks and continuing to build for your championship season. Next week, we are not going to be live. We're actually going to have a pre-recorded conversation with Dr. Monica Best. Dr. Best is actually a friend of mine from college, and I'm really glad that she will be able to join us next week to just talk family planning and women's health. As busy, ambitious women, starting a family can be difficult, and making the decision on when to start is also difficult. So I am happy that Dr. Best will join us. She is in reproductive and endocrinology at RBA, which is Reproductive Biology Associates in the Atlanta, Georgia area. She received and completed a fellowship in reproductive endocrinology and infertility at the Emory University School of Medicine. She also earned her undergraduate Bachelor of Science degree in biology from the University of Michigan, and that is where she and I met. So I'm happy to reconnect with her and have her come on and share with us. This is a very important discussion. If women aren't healthy, we cannot do all of the things that we want to do for ourselves and for others. So we have to put our fitness first. In addition to that, this week is National Infertility Awareness Week. So as you all know, I definitely want to help you win, not just in business, but in life. So Monica will be able to share with us all the different options that you have to accomplish your goal to become Chief Mom Officer. And for those of you who are already mothers, we'll continue to talk about health and how you can manage family and career. So definitely look out for that episode. And if you're interested in joining that private recording on Sunday, shoot us an email at events@heelsandhelmets.com. Well, Wednesday is not the only day that you all can connect with me and Heels and Helmets. We are wherever you are. So please follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram at Heels and Helmets. Thank you all again for joining me on SHEMAKERS Live. I really enjoyed Jahaan Blake, and I hope you all did as well. I know that this is a great time for us all to connect and get together. So please share this show with others and send me questions. Let me know how I can continue to help you. Until next week, remember, you are a SHEMAKER, and I am here to help you make big plays, get in the end zone, and win. Have a great night.